What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and it's time for our Week 10 college football playoff predictions. And if I'd done this earlier in the week, it would have looked a little bit different because we saw an upset last night, Tulane going down. And I would have had them, I'll go ahead and tell you, I would have had them as my Group of 5 team. But now I do not. You'll find out who I have in just a second. Let's go through. First, we'll look at who I have in the playoff at this point, and then we'll run through the games as well. So here's the bracket, and for the number 1 overall seed, I'm going to go with Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M is able to win out. I think they beat Alabama in the SEC championship. This is, in my opinion, the best team in the SEC. You look at that Texas game, rivalry game at the end of the season. You've got Missouri on the road. I just think Texas A&M is a better football team, and I think they find a way to win those games. And again, I like them against Alabama in the SEC championship. And I think their resume at the end of the day is going to be better, and that's why I have them at 1 and Ohio State at 2. I think Ohio State also will win out. You look at their schedule. I mean, it's Michigan. That's the game. If they can get past Michigan, they will be in the Big Ten championship. But I tell you what, that Indiana team is really good, and it wouldn't surprise me. It really would not surprise me if Indiana winds up beating Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. But I'm going to go with Ohio State for now, and we're going to put Indiana at 3. So I think they finish 12-0 and then lose that game to Ohio State. And then Alabama, I do think they win out. A trip to Jordan-Hare at the end of the season, depending on what that Auburn team looks like. They got a really good defense. They'll be playing at home. Obviously, they have not been able to find a way to win many games this year, but that could be interesting. If Alabama loses that game, I still think they go to the SEC championship because they're going to have the tiebreaker over Georgia, and I believe they will have it over Ole Miss as well. I haven't looked super deep into that, but I believe it would come down to common opponents, and you start at the top of the standings and work your way down because they beat Georgia, because Ole Miss lost to Georgia. That's why I believe Alabama will be there anyway. So, yeah, Bama's pretty much a lock. They'd have, if Vandy wins out, they'd have the tiebreaker over them. So I think you would see Alabama there regardless, unless they were to lose to someone else, and then maybe, I don't know. But I think it's going to be Alabama. Then we're going to go number 5, and that is Georgia. I think Georgia finishes the rest of I think they win the rest of their games. They have Texas at home. They have Georgia Tech. Could be a little bit tricky, but and then of course Florida this weekend. You never know. That's one that could be closer, or I think it will be a close game. So, they have some tricky games. I just think that they find a way to get it done and win those games. And again, maybe some close ones. I think Ole Miss wins out. I thought they would lose last week. I really did. And then I figured Lane Kiffin would probably choke at one of these other games. But now since they've won that game, I think they will be able to win out. The Egg Bowl is interesting, just like with Alabama at Auburn. You got Mississippi, or Ole Miss. I believe they play at Mississippi State. Egg Bowl is always interesting. But at 10-2, Ole Miss is still going to be in the playoff. They might be seated a little bit lower. They would be seated a little bit lower, but they're still going to be in. I think they went out, though. I've got them at number 6. Number 7 is Oregon. I think Oregon wins out. That game against Washington. Again, what's the theme here? We could see chaos in the final weekend where we've got teams that are in the playoff picture going on the road to play rivals. You look at Texas A&M at Texas. We've got Ohio State is at home for Michigan, so not that one. I'm not really worried about Indiana. Alabama has to play at Auburn. Georgia has to play not at Georgia Tech, but it's technically a road game, but it's in Atlanta, so that's really probably not going to be much of a road test. But again, you got Ole Miss at Mississippi State. You got Oregon at Washington. Oregon also has to play Iowa and USC, so there are some opportunities for Oregon to lose. I think, we'll see. I think they probably went out, but it could be interesting. I think, if you average the chance that they have to win all those games, like when we do our projected record videos, the projection is that Oregon's going to lose one of those games because the games are tough enough that one of them they should lose. But I don't know. I think this Oregon team's. It's going to be crazy if we have this many 11-1 teams. So I'm probably wrong here, but it just feels like that's the way it's going to go this year. Number 8, I've got Miami. I think they went out. They've got SMU this weekend. They've got a game against Pitt. Could be tricky. So I'm not confident in putting Miami here, but I'm going to go ahead and pick them. I just think they still are the best team in the ACC. I think Texas Tech is still the best team in the Big 12. You do worry a little bit because of the injuries they've had at quarterback. but that defense is so good. I think they have enough there. As long as they don't lose both quarterbacks, which I think Will Hammond maybe is done for the year. I'm not sure. I know he's out this week. So they need Baron Morton to stay healthy. I don't know who their number 3 option is, but I still got this team winning the Big 12. I think they win out. Again, that'll be another 11-1 team. Number 10, I've got that as Tennessee. I think Tennessee is able to win out. They've got Oklahoma this weekend at home. I think they get that done, but that's obviously that could mess things up, and who knows, maybe that puts Oklahoma into this playoff picture. That's a huge game. That is a really big game on Saturday night. And I think they beat Vandy at home. As much as we love Vandy, I think that Tennessee probably gets that done. What happens to Vandy if they're 10-2, and then you got Tennessee 10-2? Like, what if we have some 10-2 teams fighting for those final spots? Again, I said the other day, I believe it's looking more and more like we're going to see 10-2 teams left out. We're not going to see 9-3 teams get in. Let's go to number 11. I think that's Notre Dame. What if it is Vanderbilt, Notre Dame? What if that's the discussion? Both teams are 10-2. I don't know what the committee does because of their brand bias. I think they probably put Notre Dame in, but then there's the SEC bias side of it. So maybe they put another SEC team in. I think people would not like that. I think we would see some outrage. So I think they probably go with Notre Dame if that is the discussion. And then for number 12, you guys probably aren't going to like this pick, but I'm going back to South Florida. I think South Florida is able to win that game. You got Tulane playing at Memphis. You've got let's see, Navy's got a couple of tough games. Like you go down the list here. I think we probably see a Memphis South Florida rematch in the AAC championship, and I think South Florida wins it this time. So I'm actually going with South Florida to win that game over Tulane, or to win the conference championship over Memphis. And I like the way the rest of their schedule sets up. But there are other teams that play here. If Navy does lose 2 games, you still got North Texas. You've got some other teams with 1 loss. So that's going to be really interesting. But I'm going to go back to South Florida. Even with the 2 losses, I think if they win out, their resume is going to be enough to get them that number 12 spot. So now we're going to run through the games quickly, not putting a lot of thought into it. Again, I'm not going to dissect these hypothetical matchups, especially when we'll be doing actual predictions when the playoff bracket comes out. And I don't want to give away my answers, and maybe they'll be the same, maybe they won't, but just kind of quickly going through here. I think Miami, again, the quarterback issue with Texas Tech concerns me a little bit. I think Miami, I know they had the bad game, but I think if Carson Beck takes care of the football, this is still a top 10, maybe even top 5 team. And then I think Georgia rolls in their game over South Florida. And then we get Oregon, Tennessee. This is a toss-up. I think home field advantage. Oregon's a tough place to play. It'll be cold. I'm going with Oregon there. I do think we see one upset. I talked about Lane choking earlier. Maybe he doesn't choke in the regular season, but maybe it happens here. And I really like this Notre Dame team. You guys saw the video last week. I had them going all the way, I believe, to the championship. I think Notre Dame gets the win here over Ole Miss. All right, Texas A&M versus Miami. Aggies too much. It'll be a good game, but I'm going to go with Texas A&M. Georgia gets some revenge on Alabama. They win in the Orange Bowl. Then you got Ohio State, Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Not a blowout like last year, but I think Ohio State's defense is still going to make it tough for Oregon to score much, and the Buckeyes win this game. I'm going to switch this one. I think last week I had Notre Dame beating Indiana in one of these matchups. I'm going to go with Indiana. This team just continues to impress me. This is just a really good football team, a really well-coached team, and they've got more talent than people give them credit for. So then we get SEC versus SEC, Big Ten versus Big Ten in the semifinals. I think Texas A&M is the best team in the SEC, and I think they prove it with a win over Georgia. Ohio State's defense is the difference here against Indiana. Close game. Give me the Buckeyes, and I'm going to stick with the Buckeyes. I think this team wins the national championship. Again, I like Texas A&M. I like Indiana. I think it's going to be one of those 3 teams. Alabama has shown some vulnerability at times. Oregon, I don't think is quite good enough. Ole Miss's defense, I don't think is quite good enough. Georgia's been too inconsistent. Like, I look at these other teams, I don't think any of them are going to win the national championship. I think it's going to be Ohio State, Indiana, or Texas A&M. And for now, we're going to stick with the Buckeyes. So those are my updated playoff predictions. Give me your predictions down in the comments below.